Lillian.
And hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Perspective for Parents. This week, I want to talk about loneliness. I've been thinking and hearing from a lot of people about how we are just missing these everyday social interactions, whether it's talking to a cashier or kind of that lunchroom chatter, or even waiting for the printer when you're in the office and you see a coworker come in. And now in the days of social distancing, we miss out on all of those moments, those incidental meetings or everyday social interactions. And so I think it's really taking a toll. I'm an introvert and an internal processor. And so to me, that means large group social interactions are not as crucial to me. And it takes me longer to process my feelings because I'm not verbally talking, I don't have a soundboard to tell me, hey, Lillian, that's what you're feeling. I kind of internalize everything. And so because of those two character traits, last week, as I was again speaking to other people and listening to some of you and hearing about your struggles, I felt a deep sense of loneliness. And
go ahead.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And so I was thinking about that, like, why am I feeling so lonely? Because like most of you, I live in a house where there's constant noise. I have 3 children running around all the time. So it's not about physically alone. It's about, as we're sheltering in place, it's not physically alone. It's just that feeling of being alone. Those social contact that we have over the phone and online, they're great, but they're just not the same as our everyday social interactions. And those everyday incidental interactions, I think they really do help boost our mood or feed into our day. And without those, then we start to feel that loneliness. Those anyhow, sort of deep connections are missing. But go ahead, Leslie. Any thoughts about that?
I think there are 2 things that are missing. I think we're missing the deep connections because it's hard to always go deep on a Zoom call. And so many of us have to walk through the pandemic with our own needs, and whether or not we have our own health issues or health issues of people that may preclude us from being together. We're also missing those casual social connections that I think make for a rich tapestry of life. And I always think of a person named George who always was the cashier when I got a Diet Pepsi every day. But I started to know George, and I started to know his story and his background and his thoughts. And that became just part of this rich tapestry of what my life was. And now for us in quarantine, all that is gone, both the incidental and the deep, rich face-to-face meetings.
Yeah, and so with the lack of both of those areas, it's like we're kind of left alone. And so last week I spent some time, it was at night, the kids were in bed. I stepped outside and just sat on the deck just to feel that loneliness. Because I know that for myself, if I just gloss over and kind of tell myself, oh, everything will be fine, it'll kind of creep back. And when it creeps back, it's never a good thing. So I just gave myself permission to just feel loneliness. And, when you're in that place, like it was dark, no one else was around. It was difficult. It was a difficult time. And I cried, I was sitting there. And so, you could picture it. I'm sitting outside on my deck alone crying. But in the midst of that, the verse that came to mind was Psalm 139. Where can I go from your spirit? And I'll read it because I feel like, it was really a gift to me, and an encouragement. But basically, so here's what it says: where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there, your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. And so remembering that verse, I just, honestly, it was a little bit of encouragement. It wasn't like, oh, great, I'm all fine. I actually just, my husband came and found me, and he was deeply concerned. He's like, what's going on? And I couldn't even talk to him about it. I just said, I think I'm just lonely. And then I went to bed. Mm-hmm. Always a good night's sleep is always so good for me. So the next morning, I think really as a miracle of the Lord, I was able to just reject any of those feelings of inadequacy. Because that's another thing that happened. I felt lonely, and then I started to feel like, oh, am I lonely because no one cares about me? Am I lonely because I'm not whatever? I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. Am I not appreciated? And those voices, those discouragements started to happen. And it was only until the next morning where I could just say, no. And I think I was like, nope. I did a physical, nope, that's not me. And so I rejected, nope, not me. Thank you, Jesus.
And what I hear, though, in a couple of things that you did is I think that, there's grief under that too. There's loneliness and there's grief. And what I hear you doing is saying, I went to the Lord. And in that quiet time, and even in a good night's sleep, the Lord is with us. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the Lord often says to us too, no, stop. Those thoughts are not from me. Yeah. And here, I'm going to stop those, because here is the truth that I want to say to you. Mm-hmm. With me, you are never alone. Mm-hmm. You are my dear beloved daughter, or my dear beloved son, and I am with you always. There's no place you can go to flee from me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as parents, we have put a lot of pressure on ourselves too. So trying to get that encouragement from others, whether it's other family members, like our parents, or our friends, sometimes it's too exhausting to look and reach out to others. But to be able to hold on to God's presence, his everlasting presence, never changing, always presence, is, that's where what we can lean on. That's the foundation. That's where we can find strength.
Solid rock, because every other part, I think right now, of relationships has to be purposeful and outward. To just sit back and say, no, God is with me inward right now in this place. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to be able to receive that. Mm-hmm. It's work to reach out, but to receive, it's just this, I could accept it, receiving. Yeah. And so it's kind of comical. It could be comical, but I really do feel that the Lord, again, I was able to receive his gift through my 80-something-year-old neighbor. So the next morning, as I'm kind of trying to clear my mind of feeling that discouragement of loneliness, I get a phone call from my neighbor from across the street, and she says, I can't open my bleach bottle. Can you help me? And so I say, sure. And so she comes and rings the doorbell and leaves it on the front deck, and she steps away. And it was one of those like push down and twist. And so I was able to do that for her. And her and I just had this really great everyday social interaction. We talked a lot about just the things that are going on in our lives. And so even in the Lord bringing her and this bleach bottle, that was his provision for me, because I really then felt like, yeah, it was another physical reminder, I'm not alone. And it was so meaningful. She had no idea, and I haven't told her how meaningful it was for her to just reach out. And then later on in the afternoon, she called again because she couldn't replace her battery in her remote control. So I had to Google YouTube it because I didn't know. And it was just kind of a funny way that the Lord filled my heart and filled my life. So I was just thankful again for his provision, the way that he works in our lives and through people, unexpected people.
And you were probably that for her. You were that person.
Yeah, inevitably, because she undoubtedly she lives on her own, and that's why those bleach bottles are hard to open. And yeah, being able to reach out and just be there, be a face-to-face conversation. It really doesn't replace telephone calls, though they're great. They're just not the same.
And I admire you, Lillian, for kind of saying what we are all feeling right now, that we're all going through waves of loneliness that we don't even articulate, whether it's us or even our kids can't articulate it, but we're all missing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that, a few weeks ago, when there was a moment when we felt like, oh, things are like we could breathe a little easier, things are starting to ease up a little bit, they're starting to open up again. There was a little bit of that, like hopefulness. And then with this, really the rise of cases and states rolling back, I thought, whether you are an extrovert or an introvert, the news that kind of the light at the end of the tunnel is getting farther away and it's getting dimmer is discouraging. And it also makes us think, okay, what am I feeling right now? Like, I'm discouraged, I'm lonely. But I think the reason why I wanted to bring it here in our conversation was to help just name it. These are difficult times, and loneliness is a real thing. And if we start to label ourselves as unlovable or unworthy or all, we just need to do this, like, nope, sorry, that's not me. And accept Christ's identity for us, and remember, where can we go from his spirit? Nowhere. God is always with us.
And you, me, all of us are loved. No matter what, we are simply loved. And I think that's a message we can take too.
Yeah. Well, so we want to hear from all of you. Let us know how you're doing, and whether it's by email or commenting it on Facebook, let us know. We want to know how you are. And so thank you for joining us for Perspective for Parents again, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.